Hey everybody, welcome to Typical Geeks. This is episode number 18 and my voice is total crap tonight. Joining me is Jack McLean. How you doing, Jack?
I'm doing great.
Boy, I tell you what.
A little warm, but other than that, I'm great.
Yeah, so it's 91 degrees in your office, huh?
Yep.
You don't have an air conditioner for that?
The problem is we had our central heat and air unit went out a few months ago, and we got it replaced, but they replaced it with a less powerful unit. It's supposed to be, quote, eco-friendly, and yeah, it's eco-friendly, all right, but it's not cooling the house off very well.
Eco-friendly means it doesn't work.
Exactly, or at least it doesn't work like we want it to. So it's about 75 in the back room closest to the unit, and it's about 91 down here in my office, and it's about 100 outside right now. So
it's the humidity that will get to you at the end of the day.
Pretty much.
I did a video today about becoming a member of Patreon. Mm-hmm. And the reason I did that is it was actually, I've got multiple reasons, but the main reason is that there's some YouTubers out there who I enjoy, and I watch their content consistently. Mm-hmm. And I know for a fact that, at least I can't say I know for a fact, but listening to them, I know their back is a little bit to the wall because of changes YouTube made.
Right.
And one of the big changes YouTube made is that pretty much anybody can monetize a video now. And the advertisers aren't paying near as much for advertising, especially the pre-rolls.
Right.
And the revenue on those things are down like 30% from a year ago. Mm-hmm. And you got a lot of people that are using ad blockers.
I'm one of them.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the content creator makes no money then when you employ an ad blocker. They're not making anything.
Right.
And so a number of YouTubers, and not just YouTubers, but podcasters and all kinds of content creators are turning to things like Patreon in order to, start making some money at this. Mm-hmm. Or pretty much they have to find another line of work. And my thing is if you enjoy their content and you like what they do, why not, tip them a little bit, a couple bucks a month, and continue to receive that content. So that's why I joined Patreon. Mm-hmm. And so I now am a patron of Chris Perillo, and I may become a patron of David DeFranco, and I've got to see what all is going to be involved in his, in his campaign, and what kind of extras you get and all that. There's some other YouTubers out there that I watch pretty much every day. Linus Tech Tips is one. Tax Syndicate's another. I haven't heard any mention of any kind of patron campaigns from them. Obviously, you can't give to everybody.
Well, I have kind of mixed feelings about this whole deal. I mean, I understand if I was in their place, David DeFranco and Chris Perillo and, people that make a living off this, I can understand their predicament and I can understand their situation. And in that particular case, I understand why they're doing what they think they have to do. And then being on the consumer side of things, and by consumer in this case, I mean a person who consumes the content, who actually watches the YouTube videos. And, I'm not really a content creator. I have a show with like 500 or a channel with like 500 subscribers. So I really wouldn't consider myself much of a content creator. But being on the opposite side as a consumer watching these videos, it's kind of hard to change your business model when you go from free to paid. Okay, just throw that out there. You can go from paid to free, but it's kind of hard to go from free to paid and people stay with you sometimes. And I know it's not much that they're asking. I mean, it's just, like you said, a few dollars a month or whatever. But, when you've had people used to getting this content for free for years, how long has YouTube been a thing? What, 8, 9 years, 10 years?
Oh, yeah. I didn't it start around 2005, 2006, somewhere around there?
Right, close to 10 years now.
Yeah.
And it's always been free. I mean, it just has. You could go on YouTube, you could watch anything you wanted to, absolutely free. And now it's getting to the point where, you if you're not running some type of ad blocker, which I do, of course, but you are bombarded by advertising all over the place, and now you have your content creator saying, "Oh, and by the way, I want to get some extra money out of this," and it's kind of hard to go from that free, totally free, ad free business model to we're going to bombard you with a whole bunch of ads and you're going to pay for the content all at the same time. I mean, it's it's asking a little much from the typical consumer, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, understand that it's a revenue sharing model. YouTube keeps quite a chunk of the advertising money.
Well, they keep a large chunk of it.
But the thing is, right, and the thing is that there's because YouTube has made it so easy to monetize videos now, they're getting 72 hours a minute of video being uploaded to YouTube. So it's drowning in content, right? Mm-hmm. One of the big problems is the type of content that's being uploaded.
The majority of it garbage.
Majority of it that advertisers don't care to sponsor.
Yeah, majority of the content's garbage. Just being honest,
Right. They don't like the content. They don't like the quality of the production or the production value. Mm-hmm. It's something and so I guess they're just not paying as much for the pre-rolls and all that now.
Right.
Because the revenue is down 30%. So take people as using ad blockers, then add to the fact that the pre-rolls are paying about a third less than what they have to. Well, if you're trying to, and there are a number of YouTubers that are doing a great job with content, really good professional quality work, and they're watching their earnings slide. So why, if it's a voluntary thing, number one, they keep producing the same type of content they always have, but they give the patrons a little bit more.
A little extra.
Extra. I don't have a problem with that.
I don't either, as long as they're giving the patrons a little extra, because let's face it, that you're paying a premium for a premium product, right?
Yeah.
So you should get a little bit extra, and I don't have a problem with it in that case. But I have a problem with the people who they're going to continue to turn out the same content, but they're going to reap the benefits of the patronage. So
I sort of have a problem with if you're just saying, hey, give me money, and I'll continue doing what I've been doing essentially for free.
But if you don't give me money, I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing now. It's kind of holding hostage a little bit,
Well, it's if you're not going to provide some kind of premium or spiff for being a patron, then I begin to have a little bit of a problem with it.
I agree.
Then maybe YouTube isn't the right career for you.
Right.
But if you provide, a premium service in addition to what you're already doing, great. God love you. That's what capitalism's all about.
Agreed.
And I believe everybody's got a right to make a living. I mean, come on. Are we going to sit around and say because we bought a car, we've got the right to get stuff for free any place we can drive that car to?
Right.
Or because I'm paying a monthly cable or internet bill, I've got a right to go out and get everything off the internet for free? Mm-hmm. Well, somebody's got to produce all this content and they deserve to get paid. YouTube is, Jack, I've always felt YouTube was just a discovery vehicle. Mm-hmm. Right? And it's a search engine today. It's like the second largest search engine out there. Mm-hmm. And it is a source for education, entertainment, and news. At the end of the day. And so there's all kinds of personalities that get their start on YouTube and they grow from there. Mm-hmm. And I have no problem with somebody saying, hey, we do great stuff, but, we're asking for some support from our subscribers in a Patreon campaign in order to, do good stuff, do good work. And as our patron, we'll give you a little bit more. But if it's just more of the same, but now you're asking us to pay for it, support you, well, I won't criticize you for it, but I won't support you.
Right.
At the end of the day, I'm not going to badmouth somebody for it, but I'm not going to encourage them to do it either.
Right.
Well, let's move along here. So we are going to be talking next about this new iMac that hit the market. Let me bring that up on the screen right here. And here we go. So this is the new, was a 1099 iMac. And
it's a thing of beauty, isn't it?
Well, Yeah, so I'm looking at this thing. That's the base price, $1,100.
Right.
It's basically a MacBook Air in a iMac case with a screen display.
Basically, that's what it is. I'll tell you something else it is too. I looked at the specs, and I know it's not all about specs. I'm a Mac fan, so I'll be the first one to tell you it's not all about specs. But I looked at the specs of this machine, and then I went to my local Walmart, and I've seen several machines in the $500 to $600 range with better specs than this.
But let me stand corrected on the comparison with the MacBook Air. This thing ships with a 500 gigabyte, 5,400 RPM internal drive,
which is very, very slow and very outdated.
So actually, the MacBook Air would kick its butt.
There is no. Oh yeah, no doubt. The read and write speeds are going to be all. Just they're not even comparable. From what I'm seeing on here, by the time you configure this machine to have a decently powerful, let's see. Basically, all you can do from the looks of it here, you can go to a 256 gig SSD, but you're looking at an extra $250 to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're in the $1,350 range.
$1,350, and then add to that the cost of Apple Care, and now you've got a $1,500 desktop with horrible specs.
With MacBook Air specs is what you're looking at. I don't agree with this at all.
Not even MacBook Air specs.
I think looking at the price and looking at the specs, I think what Apple should have done if they were gonna introduce a low cost or a quote entry level machine, an entry level desktop computer, if they're going to try to do that with this iMac, it needs to come standard with a 256 gig SSD standard at $999. $999 with a 256 gig flash drive standard. That should be minimum right there.
I don't know about that, but I think it should come with a minimum of like a terabyte, 7,200 RPM hard drive. Minimum.
Well, I mean, considering the price of flash storage now, I mean, I really think it should be less than that, and I think they should come down on it. I think with the money they're saving on this 1.4 gigahertz dual core processor, really?
Well, I would rather them put them. I think on this kind of machine, I would rather them put more money towards the processor.
Right.
Give you a little bit more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is there any reason why you can't maybe put a
2 gigahertz i5
at least?
Would that hurt? I mean,
heck, for that many. If you can put a quad core i7 in the Mac Mini,
mm-hmm.
why can't you? I kind of think all the Apple products should come with a quad i7 or a quad i5.
Right.
Put a quad i5 or make it an option maybe.
Right, at least make it an option. I mean, that way you could bump it up a little bit, but I still think it should be they should start at $999. It should not be $1,100 starting price. And there should be no computer in the Mac line. There should be no computer on Apple's website that comes with a 500 gig 5,400 RPM hard drive.
This thing ain't going to sell, brother. It's just not going to sell. Nobody's going to want this piece of crap, in my opinion, this blatant ripoff.
I agree with you 100%. When you can get a Mac Mini with specs that will blow this out of the water and get a nice 20-inch display and still be coming out cheaper than this, why would you buy this?
Here's my fear. I think Apple has misjudged the entry-level market, one. I think they already had a good little machine for an entry-level desktop.
Mm-hmm.
And my fear is that they're going to double down on this thing. And there's not going to be a refresh of the Mac Mini. They're going to say, you want an entry-level Mac? Here it is.
So you don't think they're actually going to push out a new Mac Mini?
It's looking bad. It's looking bad. I mean,
how long has it been on the refresh?
It was back in 2012. There's not been an update going on 2 years.
Almost 2.5 years, yeah.
Right? So what does that tell you?
Well, I mean, look how long it took them to push out a new Mac Pro.
Well, and that I understand. Right. Any machine that doesn't sell very well, Apple really takes their sweet time on upgrading.
Right.
But I think the Mac Mini, I really don't know what Kool-Aid Apple's drinking on this one. I think it's going to be a mess.
And you were holding out for the new Mac Mini.
I am. I'm still holding out. Mm-hmm. I would say that if we don't see a new Mac Mini by the end of Q1 of next year, we ain't going to see one, brother.
I would tend to agree. I'd say if we don't see one I think they're going to introduce it. It'll be out by fall of this year.
Well, and they might, and that's what I'm hoping on, because Broadwell, the Broadwell mobile chips will be coming out major production this fall. Mm-hmm. And of course, what's the first thing that's going to get updated with Broadwell is going to be your MacBook Pros.
Right.
Those are going to get refreshed with Broadwell first.
And then your larger iMacs.
And then your iMacs, and then of course the MacBook Air. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing we get to love would be the Mac Mini. Mm-hmm. So, seeing how it's been this long, I'm going to say that fine, they'll get all those updates out of the way, and then somewhere around the end of Q1 of next year, that's when they would introduce a Broadwell-based.
That's when the Mac Mini will get some love, right?
That's kind of my guess.
Well, that's what you're hoping anyway, because. Yeah, like you said, with it, considering they just came out with this, it's not looking good for the Mac Mini.
It's not. It's not. And
or maybe this was meant to tide people over until the Mac Mini. I don't know.
Well, this is not anywhere near as powerful as a Mac Mini.
I don't think so either.
It's just not.
It's just this is just not a good move. I mean, rarely do I see Apple make a move that I just completely disagree with. But this is one of those times I just don't agree with this at all. I don't know why. It's overpriced. It's underpowered, and that's something else you'll rarely hear me say about any Mac, is that it's overpriced and underpowered. So
I don't know what Kool-Aid they're drinking. They need to take from their own playbook, and they need to come out with a true entry-level desktop machine that offers some substantial upgradability and real bang for the buck. And this ain't it, brother. This ain't it.
This ain't it.
I'm not sure what Kool-Aid they were thinking. I wouldn't be surprised they'll start fire selling these things right after Christmas, because they're just not going to sell.
Right.
I know you kind of I know you're kind of interested in politics a little bit. And what's that got to do with tech? And I found this cool plugin called Greenhouse. Let me bring this up. So Greenhouse, this is cool. It's an extension that works with Safari, Firefox, Chrome. Is there any other browsers that it supports? I know at least those that it does. I don't know about IE, but pretty much what this does, when you go to a website that's got an article, let's say, about a particular congressman, senator, or whatever, I'm going to show this thing in action here on my screen. So I'm going to an article here on Fox News. What it'll do is it'll highlight a particular politician's name, and you'll mouse up to it, and it'll pop up and it'll tell you who these people are beholden to. Mm-hmm. And so, like Kay McCarthy, Republican from California, received $274,000 from Securities and Investment Industry, $250,000 from oil and gas, $244,000 from health professionals, so on. So I scroll down here, and then I see Eric Cantor. He just lost, by the way, of the primary. Bring that up on Eric. Whoa, almost $1 million from the Securities and Investment Industry, almost $400,000 from real estate, $362,000 from insurance. It goes on and on. It tells you whose payroll these people are on. Mm-hmm. Oh, Harry Reid, this is going to be a good one. Harry Reid, almost $4 million from lawyers and law firms.
Nice.
$1.3 million from Securities and Investment. Notice the common thread here. And $1.1 million from lobbyists, $1 million from real estate industry, almost $1 million from health professionals. These guys are all taking money from the same. I'm surprised. I'm going to go ahead and get us back on here.
I'm actually not surprised.
I'm surprised that these guys, when they go into Congress, like race cars, how they got all the stickers all over them and everything. They should have that all over them.
I agree. They should have a little suit that they wear with the
Yes.
patch all over it.
See Harry Reid with like AT&T on his
All their little sponsors.
Sponsored by.
Oh yeah.
No,
I mean, it just all this does is just two things about this. One, I was kind of looking at this a few minutes ago, and one, I have to wonder how these figures, who aggregates these figures, and how exactly they're aggregated. Could it be modified? Could these people, the people that are actually they're running this app, could they be on the take from somebody, or whatever, or modify them in such a way? It kind of makes me wonder about that. That's the first thing that crossed my mind. But the second thing that crossed my mind is, how is this a big surprise to anybody?
Well,
you know what I mean? I mean, it's pretty obvious when you get any of these people up and they start running their mouth who they're beholden to.
They get the information from Open Secrets. I think it's opensecrets.org. Okay. And what Open Secrets does is basically pours through all the reports that they have to file, their campaign finance reports, categorizes it and breaks it down.
So it should be legit information.
It should be pretty much legitimate information. There's probably a lot of stuff that's not been disclosed on their campaign finance reports.
Oh, I'm sure there was.
Money under the table, money under the mattress, that kind of thing. It's an interesting plug-in. Personally, so far, just playing around with it a little bit, sites that are heavy on political nature tend to load a little bit slower with it. So beware of that. I may end up uninstalling it. I don't know. I'm going to play with it a little bit more before I make up my mind. But it's kind of cool.
Definitely an interesting take on it.
It makes you think twice when they start yakking, doesn't it?
Nowadays I usually just turn the TV off when they start yakking. I just turn it off. I don't even want to hear it anymore. There's like I posted on my Facebook the other day. I posted one of these little memes on my Facebook that said, Democrat, Republican, and then awake. So
awake.
Yeah, Democrat box, then a Republican box, and then on the one I checked, it was awake. That's pretty much the way it is. Well,
we won't get into politics tonight, but I just thought this is an interesting, cool plugin. I like the concept of it.
Right.
Because when you read a news article, that Harry Reid supports this. Then you look at who supports him. You go, oh, no wonder.
Well, of course he does. Right.
No wonder. Nowhere do you see his actual people he represents from his district.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, you don't see that.
Right. It's definitely interesting.
It really is. A big announcement last week from Amazon.
Their Fire Phone.
I'm going to go ahead and pull that up on here.
Pretty little phone.
Well, let's talk about it for just a minute. So here's the killer features of the Fire Phone. One is dynamic perspective, and the second is called Firefly. Mm-hmm. These are the two major features of the phone, and I guess if you want to identify Mayday as a feature, okay. And so spec-wise, it's a 4.7-inch phone with 1280 or 720p display, uses Gorilla Glass, has got a quad-core, I think 2 gigahertz or 2.2 gigahertz processor on board. Comes in 32 or 64 gigabytes of memory. It's got a 13 megapixel camera on board. It's running a very modified version of Android for Amazon. And that's basically the main things. The phone's available on contract exclusively from AT&T for $199 on a 2-year contract, or $650 without a contract. Yeah, that pretty much sums this phone up. Now, here's what I want to get to on this, Jack, because I find this kind of interesting. So let's talk about the three main, really, as far as I'm concerned, the two main features, Firefly and dynamic perspective. Now, the thing about dynamic perspective is they use 4 different little cameras, I believe, on the front of the phone. And so it kind of watches your face and uses the accelerometer and so forth in the phone to kind of change the perspective as you move your face around. It moves what's going on the screen. There's a few apps right now that takes advantage of it, but a couple games, but not a whole lot. My opinion, for what it's worth, is you're going to get one or two different reactions. People are going to really, really love it, or they're going to say, it's just like 3D TV. It's just a gimmick and gets in my way.
That was going to be my comment, that in my opinion, it's just going to be a gimmick.
See, I think so too. I really don't think that's really going to go anywhere. It might be kind of coolish, looking at, maybe like maps and that kind of thing that way, or even on some games, but.
Well, didn't Samsung have a kind of a similar feature a while back? Not exactly, but they had a feature built into some of their phones where if you looked away from the phone, the video would stop. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Or if you remember, they were pushing that really hard.
Yeah, and wasn't it if the phone rang or whatever, you could look at it or something, or.
Right. You could look at it, and you wouldn't have to touch it with your grubby hands that you just got done eating your barbecued ribs with. Yeah, something like that. This is one of those things. It's just, I don't see, it's just one of those bragging points, I guess you can say your phone has, but like the Samsung phones, I really don't see this. You don't hear anybody still talking about those features on the Samsung devices, and I don't think you'll hear anyone talking about this a month after it's out either.
Well, let's get to the major feature of this phone. We're going to go back here. There we go. Which is Firefly technology. Now, to just sum up Firefly for you, this has already been done, or Google attempted to do with Google Goggle at one time. There is an app like Shazam out there that listens to music, identifies the song, tells you where you can buy it, and so forth. And that's what Firefly does. Essentially allows you to use your phone to look at an image, or look at a product, or look at a TV show or a movie, whatever. It identifies it and sends you to a link where you can buy it on the Amazon store. That's what this does. Here's my question. Couldn't this be done as an app sold on iOS and Android, rather than build a whole stupid phone around it?
Yeah, I mean, it already is. I mean, it says Firefly technology, quickly identify printed web email addresses, phone numbers, QR codes, etc. This is already, I mean, they have on your phone right now, you have Shazam. I'm sure you do. You have Shazam that recognizes your music. When you visit a website, you can just click the phone number and it'll automatically call it, which is one of those things, by the way, that Apple is suing Samsung over, which they came out with, and Samsung kind of hijacked it. But that's one of those. I mean, there are already apps that will do every single thing that QR codes. I have a barcode reader, a QR code reader on my iPhone already. I mean, there's already hundreds of apps in the App Store that will do each one of these things. Consolidating it all down and building it right into the phone, I guess that's new. I mean, that's different, but I don't think that it's going to really change how people use the applications.
Well, okay, this proves that Amazon can build a phone. Okay, we get it. You can build a phone.
Right.
We can see that you're pricing it as a premium phone,
which puts it in direct competition with the top of the line Samsungs, the HTCs, the Google phone, the Windows Phone, and Apple. So
put you squarely in that category, and you're really now. I bought a phone, a premium phone. I can't access the Google Play Store. I can't access the Apple Store, the App Store.
But you can access the Amazon App Store.
So basically, I bought an Amazon shopping device. Wouldn't I be better to maybe spend a couple $100 on, like, say, a Kindle or Amazon Fire tablet, and continue, look at a better phone for the money? I
think so.
I think so too. I
don't think this is going to fly very well.
I'll bet money there will not be a version 2 of this thing.
I would bet that you're right. I would not bet against that.
I think this show ought to be the week of the turkeys.
Pretty much. I'm not sure what's going on. I think they drank the same Kool-Aid Apple did this week.
Well, no, it's interesting. I mean, you're just taking an app and say, oh, let's build a phone around the app.
Right.
Because, like I said, now Mayday, okay, so Mayday is no big deal. Right? That's, what is that? That's basically you get video help on the phone or on your tablet. They could also do that with an app.
Right.
I mean, seriously, Amazon, you could have done everything this phone had to do with some apps, 2 or 3 apps, put it on iOS and Android store, call it a day.
And they'd probably make more money off
and
of it.
Saved a bundle. And they said this phone took a long time to develop.
Why?
They don't have any experience building phones.
They took a Galaxy S3 or a Galaxy, I guess, a Samsung Galaxy Note, basically, and they put their own custom version of their own highly customized, highly locked down version of Android on it. I mean, why did this take so long to make?
I think anybody that buys this phone has been duped out of their money. And you're look, if you're going to go to AT&T and sign it to your contract, you would be crazy to buy this phone.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, you'd just be absolutely nuts.
You know, maybe they just did it to say they did it. I mean, do you remember a while back the Ubuntu phone, and then that had the Firefox phone, and then there was some other company that came out with their own phone? I mean, really, I guess nowadays, like, the end thing is to say that you have your own phone.
Well, who did the Facebook phone?
I remember that. I remember that was it.
You don't remember? Don't see it today.
Yeah. Well, actually, I never seen one in the wild, period. I don't think anybody ever has.
And then Microsoft once had this weird little phone. I forget what the details on it were. It came out for a little while. I think it was tied into Messenger or something like that.
Yeah, that's just the popular thing to do now, I guess, is come out with a phone. But the thing is, if they're going to come out, fine. You're Amazon. You know what I mean? You have all the money. You can do whatever you want to. Come out with something people are going to use, something people are going to buy, but not a phone. And if you are going to come out with a phone, don't throw it in the $650 price range, right up there with the most premium phones on the market in direct competition with them. It's not going to work. No. It's just not going to work. It would be like me coming out with my own computer, and throw it right out there with Apple.
Poor Amazon.
It's not going to work.
Poor Amazon. Seriously. Those are kind of the main topics I wanted to cover, but I thought it might be fun to take a few minutes and just kind of, talk about whatever we want to. Jack, did you see that app called Yo?
No, I haven't seen that.
You haven't heard of Yo?
Mm-mm.
All it does is display the message Yo. That's
okay.
They sold it for $1 million.
Really? I'm in the wrong business, apparently. I don't know.
I want to. You just need to ask. See, I'll say I'm feverishly working on YOLO.
Hey, there you go.
No one's done a YOLO app. See, I just gave that away.
That is absolutely crazy. And they sold it for how much?
$1 million. The investor, a venture capitalist, put $1 million into this thing.
I'm really in the wrong business. I really am.
This must be the guy that brought us to Pet Rock.
Probably.
I got to do my YOLO app.
He's also the same guy that places the ads in the back of the magazines that says how to get 1 million people to eat, send you $3 for information, send $3.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the same guy.
What was the when iOS first got going, the App Store? What was that app that basically was like a picture of a diamond or a jewel? The guy cleaned up on this thing. Do you remember that?
I remember something. It was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Like a jewel of some kind. I forget the details on it, but yeah, it was just a worthless app. They wanted like $1,000 for the app. And
I remember that.
Remember that?
It was the I'm Rich app.
Maybe that was it.
And that's all it was. That's all it did. It was just like a jewel on there, and it basically was just to show everybody how rich you were because you could afford this $1,000 app.
Yeah. Well, I guess Yo would show you how stupid I am. Look how dumb I am. My app does one thing. It says Yo.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Anything else in the tech world you would like to talk about?
No, just talk about my new little toy that I got a couple weeks ago. Oh, yeah, my new space heater?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got I purchased well, I didn't purchase it. It was actually basically given to me. I helped a guy out with something, and instead of charging him, my standard $35 an hour, we did a trade on and I was only there for maybe an hour. So we did a trade with a dual G5, 1.8 gigahertz G5 power Mac. And like you said, it's very much a space heater. If I turn this thing on down here in the winter, I probably won't have to turn the heat on because it does blow out the heat pretty good. But you know, the amazing thing is, and I also have the original 20-inch cinema display, which is highly overbuilt. For those who haven't seen one. But, you know, I tell you, the display quality and the quality of the machine itself, you very rarely see in any of today's machines. And for the specs that it has, it's actually pretty darn snappy.
And so that runs, is it Leopard?
I'm running Leopard on it.
Then that's where it stops for the Power PC.
Yep, that's where it stops. And
Leopard.
I had to go in and play around with it to find what apps I could, that was part of the fun though. I could go in, I did a clean install of Leopard on it, and I had to go in and find out what apps would work with the Power PC, and you got to go find your old apps that'll actually work on it. But as far as just a web surfing machine or email machine or, taking notes or just basic Word documents and stuff like that, it'll do all that, and it'll do it snappy, and it'll, it works just fine. I will say that I found one of the little hurdles that I had to get around was the fact that the browsers are out of date, and you can only go up so much in the browsers on it. So I had to go out and search for a custom browser, one called 10.4 Fox. And it's a modified version of Firefox, but it will work on the Power Mac, and it's compatible. It's got its own version of Flash, its own version of Java, so it's still secure because you can't really run a more modern browser on it, a more modern version of Safari, or I think it maxes out at version 5, and Chrome, it won't run on it well. And but I mean, that's been part of the fun, is just going through and finding out what I have to run on here and what it'll do and what it won't do. And like I said, for the specs on the machine, you would probably be surprised how snappy it actually is.
And now it's got the dual G5s in it.
Dual 1.8 gigahertz G5s, and I think it's running 4 gigabytes of RAM.
And now, what are you going to use this thing for?
Right now, my wife's using it. She's using it as a secondary machine to back up all the stuff from her MacBook. Her MacBook's pretty much on its last leg, and she's just backing up all her pictures and all her documents and stuff from that. That way she's got another backup here. She's got one with her on the machine, and then she's got one here which is off-site from her work. And so she's using it for backup storage. She's using it for basic web surfing, note-taking, Word documents, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, it works fine for that. Would this be a great machine for video editing? No, absolutely not, because you're going to run iMovie 06. That's about it. Would this be a great machine for gaming? Absolutely not. But basic web surfing, internet, it'll do anything any modern Linux box will probably do. So take it for what it is. I mean, like I said, it's a decent little machine for the money, considering I got no money in it.
And space heater.
And a space heater. Think of all the money I'm going to save on my heating bill this winter.
Oh, man, I tell you what, my Mac Pro is like below this desk. Mm-hmm. It pushed back, and I could just feel the heat coming out of this sucker. And when you render video with it, the fans take off like crazy, and that thing starts blowing out the heat. This
one does it when you fire up Office document. It does the same thing.
Fans start ramping up.
Fans start ramping up. If you go watch a YouTube video, it sounds like a jet engine taking off over here.
Awesome. Again, this is why I want to get a new Mac Mini. Because I made a shot of video today, and anyhow, like a dummy, I left my ceiling fan on. I just forgot in the process of making the video, turn this thing off.
And it had a hum in it all the way through?
Well, no, I got rid of most of it. It's Final Cut, right, does a pretty good job.
Right.
But all that is really, processor intensive. Final Cut is a processor intensive, app. Mm-hmm. And so but the thing is, my point being is that the Mac Pro, when you start editing in Final Cut, its fans take off. So how do you hear for fan noise in the background of the video if you can't get past the fans on the Mac Pro? After a while, you begin to think fan noise is just normal. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
I know I got a good quality video, see, when I can hear those fans.
You know, I'm so used to, I have a custom desktop machine over here you've heard me talk about in a lot of the videos.
Yeah.
And I leave it running, it stays running pretty much 24/7. The only times it's been shut off is when there was a power outage or when we were moving the furniture around and it had to get moved. So it's been shut off maybe 10 times since 2007. It's been shut off maybe 10 times. The rest of the time, it just runs it runs 24/7. Never had a problem with it. I had a friend over about 3 weeks ago, and she said, what is that noise? What is so loud down in your office? And I'm like, I don't hear anything. I don't know what you're talking about. And then she pointed out, it's that machine right there. And I'm like, oh, I don't even notice it. But then I turned it off, and it's like so quiet down here and nice. And and it's about 13 degrees cooler too. So, I mean,
you get used to it.
You do. You get used to it. You don't think about it, but then everybody else in your video can hear it in the background.
There is one other thing I think I should bring up. If you're a Photoshop user, Adobe had a deal for a while where you could rent their rentware Photoshop and Lightroom for like $10 a month. Right? Well, they've decided to make that permanent. So they've got a package. You get Lightroom, you get a Photoshop CC for $10 a month, $9.99 a month from now on, which I think is reasonable.
Right.
$10 a month ain't bad.
Hey, if you're a graphic designer and that's what you live in, it's Photoshop. Hey,
what did Photoshop used to cost? Was it around $600, $500-$600?
Usually they would come out with a new version every couple of years, and it was about $700.
Well,
for just Photoshop, not the Creative Suite.
Yeah, but what was the upgrade cost? For $300 or $400?
I want to say it was like $259 or $289 or something like that around here.
Around $300.
Yeah, around $300. Yeah.
So I guess this is fair. I'm thinking about it actually. Because I've tried GIMP and I'm not a big GIMP fan.
Have you tried Pixelmator?
I haven't, but
try Pixelmator. That's what I use.
I hear it's pretty doggone decent.
There are very few things that you can do in Photoshop that you can't do in Pixelmator, unless you're turning out very high-end graphics, and there are very Photoshop specific things that you need to do. I believe that probably 95 to 98% of people that currently use Photoshop could get by just fine on Pixelmator.
So it supports layers and all that kind of masks, all that.
Layers and all that. I believe they have a free trial. I'd download it and try it. I mean, it's a nice app.
Well, thing is, see, I've got this Power Director Ultimate Suite here now for Windows, and it has what do they call that? Photo Director. I want to look that up here. Boy, this new mouse. Wow.
You're loving that mouse.
I love the mouse, man, but I've got to back this DPI down on this thing. It's like zing, 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 zing. I got it cranked too high. And yeah.
They Pixelmator right now, they have a free trial, and the app itself runs $30. And I firmly believe, like I said, about 95 to 98% of Photoshop users could get by with this app. So $30, I mean, if it doesn't work for you, what are you out? $30. So
Photo Director 5 is what I got.
Photo Director 5.
Photo Director, but it doesn't have a lot of the like the freehand drawing tools and all that kind of stuff. But it's a great image editor, but it's not it's no Photoshop.
It's not what you want, right?
No, but hey, it'll do. You know what? I think we better be wrapping up this week's installment of Typical Geeks, huh?
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me, too. Everybody, thanks a lot for watching. We'll talk to you later.